How do you add $100,000 to the value of your house in 2 months? That's a great question. And today I'm going to show you Kieran and Alex's new home. We're going to show you before and after. Exciting stuff. We're going to talk to the contractor. We're going to talk to them, and you're going to learn all about it. Hi, today I'm here with my good friend Alex.
Hi everyone.
So, what were you looking for when we were looking at this house?
I think we were looking for something that we could do a basement apartment in that wouldn't be a major structural change. It's something that we could see ourselves being in for a couple of years with a good neighborhood and kind of growing into.
Yeah. So this wasn't the first house that we had an offer on, right?
No, it's not. We actually had originally had a budget kind of was maximum of what this house was. And when we looked for some that were kind of on the lower end of our budget, we found one.
Yeah.
And then when we did our inspection, which thankfully we put in, we found a lot of serious structural issues that would have made the home way over our budget before we could get anything usable out of it.
So you watch that video here.
Yeah.
And was there anything you learned from that that helped you kind of decide on this place?
Yeah, I think from that we kind of looked at our budget again and tried to figure out like what could we spend with our renos to get the right thing. So if we got something with a bit more space and a basement apartment that could generate a little bit more income for us, what would that do to our budget? So we used a calculator that you sent us to kind of play around with how we could get there and how the income could work for us. Factoring in obviously all the changes with COVID. So that kind of brought us back to a new number, and luckily this house kind of fell within it, which we think was kind of a jewel in the rough because of the way it showed and how it had been kind of a bedroom rental or like a boarding house before we got it. So
it's always a good deal.
Always shows really nice too, so you feel great about your purchase.
Totally.
But you have to see the vision.
You have to see the vision.
Well.
So that's a great segue. You had the vision when we came to this property, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges is folks just having the vision when they see a boarding house to be able to like, oh yeah, I want to buy that. What would you say to those people? How would you help those people get that vision?
Yeah, I think my husband was that person.
Yeah.
Who really was not sure what we were doing. But I think it was really trying to understand what was paint, what was the bones of the house, and what you could kind of do to work within it. So when we kind of came through here, we sort of had said like, what's a bronze, silver, gold package? Like what would we do for the smallest amount of money to make a difference for us?
Yeah.
And kind of built up from there to kind of create what we thought we could see. And the big part of like setting that in reality for what you can get for your money is doing a walkthrough with your contractor.
Yeah.
And understanding like what's a big problem and what's a small problem and what can you kind of get to for the money you're looking to spend. Because I think I was really surprised, like once you start getting into doing a bigger reno, how those things that seem really big, when it's a one-off job, become a really small part of the reno. Like a great example is the outside of the house. I think the first day we had the house, our contractor had the whole exterior painted, and in one day it was a whole different house.
Yeah.
Which was hard to envision, but if you start talking to a contractor and understanding that, you can really start understanding what your options are.
And sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, $1,000, that's a lot. But when you're in a reno and you're like, well, you could make this awesome for another $1,000, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can get carried away that way too, which is a little bit of a runway. But I think that you have to kind of look at the total value of the house, and think about what you're giving back to the house, you're giving back to the lifestyle that you want.
Right.
So obviously our kitchen reno was about half of the reno cost for us to buy the kitchen, install it, and change things around.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's changed the whole house and the whole feel.
Totally.
So that's money I would happily spend again.
Yeah. So you're making sure you're spending money on the right things.
Yeah.
Which is also a great segue. So you spent about $70,000 doing this reno, which I think the things that you've done are perfect. Like every dollar you spent, you've added value. Is kind of what we look at as realtors. Mm-hmm. So maybe just do a quick walkthrough of the different areas, the different things you focused on in the reno.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for us, we thought the ones you could add the most value in or the most impactful are bathrooms and kitchens.
Yeah.
The bedrooms had really great bones. They needed a cleanup, a repaint, and some new lighting.
Yeah.
All pretty minor. And then when we looked at the kitchen, we knew you wanted to open up the space to give you more kind of feel through the whole house. And we knew we wanted to gonna give it a whole fresh new look.
Yeah.
So in our old kitchen, we kind of thought we could make do, and then as soon as we opened it up, we realized we couldn't.
Yeah.
So making sure that you find the right contractor to put it all together, and you kind of pick your whole program that's easy to put together, which is especially challenging in COVID because there's always backlogs on different elements.
Totally.
There are some superficial changes that we made that were really impactful but didn't cost very much.
Yeah.
A great example is just painting out the angel stone in the front yard, which I think took it from looking pretty dated as a house to bringing it a lot more contemporary.
For sure.
Including painting up the garage in the backyard that was a beautiful mint and brown. So that's a nice change.
Mint brown.
Yeah. Replacing the smaller fence in the backyard with a larger wooden fence really created a lot more privacy and kind of like privacy back there.
Yeah.
And even the bathroom, I think, is one that we would have liked to do. You know, if we had gone to our gold package and had a little more dollars to spend, we would have redone the bathroom in a different way.
Yeah.
But because we chose to redo the kitchen, we had to make some trade-offs. And so one of the things that we did was just to paint it all out and add some funky wallpaper.
Yeah.
Which did make the space feel really different.
Yeah.
But cost us, $70 in roll of wallpaper. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the creepy basement. Well, it's a nice basement, but there was that funny room that meant you couldn't do anything with that space.
Yeah, so I think they must have added an extra bedroom, trying to make it a 2-bedroom space. But
2-bedroom.
Yeah, very illegally so. So we took that room right out and just took the wall out, which again is a thing that I would have felt really overwhelmed by until we started to understand like what that really meant.
Yeah.
So we took that wall out and then we kind of redid a bit of the kitchen. So added some new backsplash, put on a new counter tile. A very cool backsplash, but kept all the cabinets. So again, like relatively small investment for what you're gonna get back. And then we kind of cleaned up what was a scary bathroom to make it a non-scary bathroom.
Totally. So you talked about contractors, and I remember actually when we were talking about the house, you're like, Paul, maybe could I have like a designer and a contractor? And I was like, actually, I have it all in one person. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how that went, the whole relationship, etc.
Yeah, so we had kind of a couple contractors in mind that family and friends had recommended to us, and they were kind of like, well, you need a designer as well, and you recommended to us Renee.
Yeah.
And so Renee was like the perfect pairing for us. She had a great design eye, so it was a person to get great bounce ideas off of, and she came with her own ideas, which was really awesome. And she was super easy to work with, really communicative, and I think like one of the real reasons we have a great looking kitchen behind us.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard Paul and Alex talk about our contractor, Renee. She just happens to be standing beside me. Renee, you're not just a contractor, you're also a flipper, which is terrific for projects like this. You really get it. Not that we're flipping this house, but you understand sort of the dynamics of budget. What did you think about this project, and can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, I thought the job was made a lot easier by the fact that it was a perfect property for the clients and that the house itself had very good bones. So we were able to develop a concept for the clients that was within budget and that suited the bones of the house.
And you really seem to, between you and Alex, have a clear vision. I think that was a lot of it. Like you were able to go through and you guys were constantly talking and feeding back information like this wall and how to prioritize and things like that.
Yeah, Alex and I stayed in touch through phone calls, email, texts, weekly meetings. It was a clear vision, but it was also a bit of an adaptive model. As we went through the house and tried out different things, we came up with fresh ideas along the way. We weren't too rigid in our original idea.
Is that typical, like when you're sort of changing on the fly sometimes? Because what you were able to do within your budget was absolutely amazing. And I know normally when there's changes going on with a contractor, it's like, oh my God, we got to change now. Here, cha-ching. You were kind of fluid with that, or is that just the nature of the project? Or
I think there are a lot of myths of renovating that are antiquated and don't have a place in modern renovations. One of them is the failure to adapt a model of renovation that allows you to move more organically through the process, that allows you to work with the bones of the house, with what works in the house already, and change what doesn't work so well.
And then you recently called me and said, hey Paul, can you help with the rental part? And I was like, Alex, you totally forgot, but this part of what we do is, we take professional pictures, we get professional blurb written, we'll edit the pictures, we'll virtually stage the pictures, all this stuff to help you get it rented, right?
Yeah, and you were super quick too. So I think we finished the renos downstairs on the Monday.
Yeah.
You had a guy in on Wednesday to take photos, and on Friday they were back to us, so we could have the apartment downstairs posted within like a week of being done.
Nice.
And it looks very nice. When I saw the photos, I was like, "This is our house? You sure this is our house?" But
Realtors do sneaky things with pictures. That's kind of what we do. So we bought this house for 1.13. We put in 70K in renos. So now we're at 1.2. You're in this house for 1.2. How much do you think it's worth as of right now? What's your best guess?
I'm gonna hope 1.25.
So Jordan and I did a little research. So in this neighborhood, we think right now you could get 1.3 for this house. So you're already in for 100 grand
Okay.
in stuff in your pocket, which is great, right? This is exactly what we tell people. You did a smart rental, you spent all the money where you needed to, and that's increased the value of the house perfectly.
So well, very excited to see. Not selling it now.
No.
But looking forward to the future.
Exactly. So you did a great job. I think it's amazing. You spent the right money on the right things. If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I think the one thing we might change is the way we plan the process. So I think we bought the house, we got renos in right away. I think that was the exact right thing to do. But I think I would have tried to plan a bit more of the renos in advance. So I've done maybe more on the walkthrough, me buying some of the materials in advance.
Well, and it's always hard for folks to envision before they take ownership what they would do with it. So that's a very common situation, even though that's exactly what I would say you should do. Is have the plan, and then day one you're starting smashing out walls and.
Exactly.
Now, Paul dropped by one day. We were checking up on the project, and he heard something that I've never heard before. Apparently, you said today's on me. Can you explain what that meant? Because I've never heard a contractor in my life say that.
Right. Well, part of it is from my own experiences as a client. And I try to bring the benefit of that experience to my role as the project manager on the site. So in this case, I had quoted Alex a certain amount of time. Now there were some add-ons as we went along the way that would account for extra time, but there were other delays that I felt probably were more in my control. So when we had to come back toward the end for an extra day to finish up some odds and sods, that day was on me. Because I figured we should have been able to take care of that during the time.
Right.
We didn't. So that day was on me.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking to us.
No problems.
Alex is amazing.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you found the information helpful. If you have any questions, put them in the comment box. And of course, hit the subscribe button so you can see all of our great videos that come out new every week. Thanks so much for enjoying. Yeah.
Hi, today I'm here with my good friend. Do it one more time. Hi, today I'm here with my good friend Alex. Hello.